WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160, and our interview with Josh Krug talking about the 2020 census, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Josh. Thanks for having me on this morning.
All right, so we've been getting a lot of census news, and Indiana County looks to be doing a good job as far as self-response rates have gone. But from what I understand, it sounds like the Census Bureau has actually kind of shortened things up. They moved the deadline up to, I think it sounded like the end of September or something along those lines. Maybe you can straighten us out as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. You are correct about the September 30th date. There is an accelerated plan that has been put into place to complete the count by September 30th. So that is 50 days away from today. So the countdown is certainly on. And they did, in fact, initiate early non-response follow-up here in our area July 20th, which was 22 days early. But they are, in fact, looking to get the count completed by September 30th. So we are continuing to encourage self-response, but folks are certainly going to visit houses right now as well.
Mm-hmm. So people are the census takers are going out there. They are starting their work in trying to get to the people who have not self-responded to the census, and those people are practicing the proper guidelines in this time of COVID-19. That's one thing that also came out of the Census Bureau, that the census takers would be making sure that things are safe and done in a safe manner.
Yeah, certainly. We're requesting that everybody in the county, certainly who has not responded to the census, would open the door for a socially distant, safe, confidential, less than 10-minute interview. This does certainly affect lots of funding sources and all sorts of functions of society, from transportation to health care to education, and the apportionment in Congress as well. So it's critically important that we get the census filled out and get the count complete here in Indiana County. And if you haven't self-responded either online or by phone or by the mail-in method, folks are going to be coming to visit, and we really, really are requesting that folks open the door and have that socially distant, confidential interview.
So this leads me to ask, how is Indiana County doing as far as self-response rates go?
Well, if we look regionally, we're right in the pocket, so to speak. We're right in the middle compared to our neighbors. We're ahead of some, we're behind a few others. But if you compare ourselves to our own count from 2010, relatively speaking, we're almost at the self-response rate that we achieved in 2010. And, all things considered, we're happy with that. We here in Indiana County are kind of held up a little bit, held back, and hindered by the IUP student count because they are not being reflected in the self-response rate, and it's a large segment of our population. So we're considerate of that. And we have been getting some good commendation from the Census Bureau for our self-response efforts.
One of those actually came out the other week with the fact that they were honoring the commissioners for the proclamation of Indiana County Counts Day and having the complete count assistance table set up over at the courthouse for people to stop by and utilize. So congratulations to Indiana County's Complete Count Committee for those nice words and nice honors from I think it's the Philadelphia office?
Yeah, the Philadelphia office, and actually it spans 9 states, overall. And there were several folks that get highlighted, each week. Our partnership specialist, Rick Buck, submitted our event to the Census Bureau, and they selected it to highlight it region-wide. And we were very, very happy for that. And certainly we thank the commissioners for their ongoing support and all of our communities in Indiana County. We had a successful event where we had what's called a mobile questionnaire assistance center in front of the courthouse. And we actually had 3 households complete their census, by that using that mobile questionnaire assistance center, and they made contact with many other folks from throughout the county. We're hoping that maybe another mobile questionnaire assistance center will happen. That's at the discretion of the census, though. We have the Complete Count Committee arranged places for them to be able to go, including the courthouse and the Indiana Mall. So we will keep the media and the public apprised, as things do develop, if there is, in fact, going to be a mobile questionnaire assistance center somewhere else in the county during the next 50 days.
You mentioned that one of the hardest things was to make sure that the IEP students would be able to be counted as part of this census. Now they're going to be coming back to campus. So are we going to see an increased effort then to get those IEP students back on the census rolls, even though they had to leave early because of what happened with coronavirus?
So all the publications from the Census Bureau do state that college students are to be counted where their college community is, even if they are, and where they are at most of the year. And under this particular circumstance with the coronavirus crisis and the pandemic, they actually have stated that if they left the university prior to when they typically would have, they still should be counted here. So it's quite definitive and clear that they are to be counted here in Indiana County. Mm-hmm. The issue that we're running into is the self-response. So we're working very diligently with our partners with the Census Bureau, with IUP, and potentially even with landlords in the area at this point, because we need to reconcile the counts with respect to who was where on April 1st, because that is the snapshot of America that we look at. Is April 1st is the date. So there's a little bit of complexity to it, Josh, but we're working through those details and doing everything we can as a complete count committee to ensure that everybody in Indiana County is counted and counted where they're supposed to be.
You're listening to Indiana in the Morning here on WCCS. Josh Woodison with Josh Krug of the 2020 Census Complete Count Committee for Indiana County. And we've been talking about the fact that the census has moved up the deadline for the complete count to September 30th. And, of course, there's a lot of complexities that are going on with that right now. And, of course, census takers are out in the community going on and knocking on people's doors of people who haven't responded themselves to the census. And, of course, Josh, we're encouraging people to continue to respond to the census. Now, I admit I took my time. I waited, and I finally said, you know what? I've got nothing better to do. I might as well take care of it. It's amazing how quick it can be done.
It really can be done quick. Even if you have a large household, it typically takes less than 10 minutes. I believe my household, it took less than 5, maybe even 3, to be honest with you, Josh. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could speak from your own experience. But it was really only a few questions. None of them are very detailed. And again, it is all confidential, and it is critically important, too. Mm-hmm. So there's really nothing, there's no reason at all why one would not want to, why one should not want to fill out the census. Because it's non-political, it's tied to funding here in Indiana County specifically, and to the apportionment in Congress as well. So it's really a pretty straightforward process, and the self-response rate makes it cheaper for the census to complete its operations, which, goes back to tax dollars, et cetera. So we really, and self-response typically is more accurate that the census has found over time. So we are encouraging self-response. We're hoping that people, you can get online to 2020census.gov, and you can fill out the census.
I'll say this. Under 5 minutes for me. Okay, there we go. I said it. Okay.
Wonderful. There's a quote from you yourself, a testimonial.
There you go. But I do want to say that we have heard about some of the warnings that have come about of false census scams. I mean, people who are trying to deceive others.
Absolutely.
Have you been hearing?
Those are out there, and we do have information on our website at icopd.org. We have a census information portal, or at that 2020 census website. There is specific information about potential fraud and et cetera, but we haven't heard of it much any cases here in Indiana County per se, but we have made contact with all of our law enforcement agencies, let them know that this is actually occurring right now. And what we're trying to do right now is, reach out to the public and let them know folks may be coming to their house, and it'll be socially distant, it'll be safe, confidential, open the door, complete the census. You won't have to do it again for 10 years. Mm-hmm. These numbers impact everything for 10 years. It's really important to note that.
Yeah. So when somebody knocks on the door and claims that they are with the Census Bureau, what should people be on the lookout for? There
will be a badge that they have, and there will be census information that they have readily available for you, and you will definitely be able to tell. and then that they are in fact with the census, and then they won't ask you anything that is detailed information or confidential. The actual questions are available on the census website as well, so you can preview them yourself.
Yeah, so kind of prepare yourself in case you do have to have
But
an interview.
the easiest thing, Josh, would be to fill it out online,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to worry about it.
Definitely.
Or call in. This is the first time ever that you were able to do anything outside of the traditional method of mail-in, and it really does, produce more opportunities for folks.
So people have you been able to at least get any numbers about people who are taking advantage of that opportunity by using either phone or the census website as far as Indiana County goes?
Well, with Indiana County specifically, I don't have those numbers readily at hand, but I do know that generally the census expected most people to fill it out online, and that it is actually playing out that way as well.
All right.
But we do know that there are other methods, like we had 3 families that do the mobile questionnaire assistance center, and, the traditional mail-in method and phone is available as well.
Definitely. All right, Josh Krug, thank you very much for joining us here on Indiana in the Morning to talk about the 2020 census. Keep us posted. And again, September 30th is that new deadline, so it's coming up pretty quick. I know you guys got a lot of work to do.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thanks again to Josh Krug of the 2020 Indiana County Complete Count Committee for the U.S. Census, joining us on Indiana in the Morning. It is presented by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. All of our interviews are presented by Marcus & Mack.